everyone. Welcome back to our channel Digitalized Learning. Myself Megha. I am here today with the third part of the chapter Metals and Non-Metals. In this video, we'll be covering topics like the occurrence of metals, extraction of metals, enrichment of ores, extracting metals low in the activity series, extracting metals in the middle of the activity series, and the last topic would be extracting metals towards the top of the activity series. Now let us begin our today's video with the first topic, that is the occurrence of the metals. Now first of all, where do we find the metals? The earth's crust is the major source of metal. So the earth's crust is the place where the metals are generally found. Now seawater will also contain these metals, but they'll contain these metals in the form of dissolved salts. Okay, they may be in the form of sodium chloride or magnesium chloride or etc. Now what are minerals? The elements or the compounds which occur naturally in the earth's crust are known as minerals. Now these minerals are any element or compound that are naturally occurring in the earth's crust. Now these minerals, sometimes it happens that few of the minerals contains a high concentration of metal. Now such minerals which consist of a high concentration of metal are generally referred to as ores. Okay, such minerals containing concentration of metals in them are considered as ores. Okay, now let us look on to few more introductory points we need to cover before we move on to the next topic. Okay, so now which is the metal that is most abundant in the earth's crust? It's aluminium. And the non-metal which is most abundant in the earth's crust is oxygen. Okay, and when we look on to the reactivity series which we have done in the previous video, we know that the reactivity series is divided into most reactive metals, less reactive metals and least reactive metals, right? Now the elements or the metals which are least reactive are generally found in the free state in the earth's crust, and the most reactive ones are always found in the combined states. They may be in the form of sulfides, oxides or carbonates. Okay, now as we discussed that the minerals which contain the concentration or high concentration of metals are called ores. Now let us discuss some examples of ores. Okay, so now the ore of aluminium is called bauxite, of iron it is called hematite, and of mercury it is called cinnabar. Okay, these are the few examples of the name of the ores of few metals. Now we need to understand a concept known as metallurgy. Now what is metallurgy? The process in which a metal is extracted from its ore in the pure form is called metallurgy. So this process of metallurgy refers to the extraction of metal from its ore in the pure form. Now this metallurgy usually takes place in three steps. Okay, the first step is the enrichment of ore, second step is extracting metal from the ores, and the third step is refining the metal. Now that is where we move on to our next topic of the slide, that is extraction of metal. Now an overview about extraction of metal is, as we know that ore which is found in the earth's crust, it may contain few of the impurities, and those impurities are generally referred to as gangue. Now depending upon the physical and the chemical properties of both metals and the ore, several processes are being applied onto the extraction of the metals and removal of the impurities from the ore. Okay, so that we get the metal in the pure form with no impurities in it. So such process is called the enrichment of ore. Now let us have a look on the slide, the points that are given on the slide. Okay, You have learnt about the reactivity series of the metals. Having this knowledge, you can easily understand how a metal is extracted from its ore. So the extraction of metal from the ore, this concept depends solely on the reactivity series. The reactivity series is going to help us in in knowing the process about the extraction, right? Now some metals are found in the earth's crust in the free state, and these are the metals which are least reactive. They are unreactive and hence they are usually found in the free state. Some are found in the form of their compounds. Some are also found in the form of compounds. Okay, these metals at the bottom of the activity series are the least reactive. They are often found in the free state. Right now, for example, gold, silver, platinum and copper are generally found in the free state. Now as we remember about the reactivity series, gold, silver, platinum and copper are the metals which are placed at the towards the end of the reactivity series, which signifies that they are the least reactive metals, right? So they are usually found in the free state. The examples are gold, silver, platinum and copper. But copper and silver are also found in the combined states as well, and they are found in the form of sulfides or oxide ores. Okay, the metals at the top of the activity series, which are potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium and aluminium, they are so reactive that they are never found in nature as free state. Now as we know, they are placed at the top of the reactivity series, which means they are amongst the most reactive metals, and hence they will be never found in the free state. They will always be found in the combined state. The example of such metals are potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium and aluminium. Now the metals in the middle of the activity series, which are the less reactive metals, for example zinc, iron, lead etc., they are moderately reactive and they are found in the earth's crust mainly in the form of oxides, sulfides or carbonates. Okay, now hence on the basis of the reactivity, now we can group the metals into three categories: metals of low reactivity, metals of medium reactivity and metals of high reactivity. Right now when we consider like in the form of a stepwise process, if we talk about the steps which are involved in the extraction of metal from the ores, it will be like, first of all, it will be divided on the basis of the concentration, like metals of high reactivity, metals of medium reactivity and metals of low reactivity, and all these metals will have different extraction procedures. Okay, now if we consider the metals of high reactivity, here the process of electrolysis is involved. Here electrolysis of molten ore takes place, and then there's extraction of pure metal, and then we obtain the pure metal. Now in case of the metals of medium reactivity, there are two types of ores which are found: carbonate ores and sulfide ores. And we can also see here that there are two processes also involved. For carbonate ore, that there is calcination taking place. For sulfide ore, there is roasting taking place. Okay, now why is this calcination and roasting taking place and conversion into oxide of metal taking place? Because generally oxide the ores, like oxide ores, are easy for extraction as compared to the ores like carbonate ores and sulfide ores, and hence by the process of calcination and roasting, first of all these carbonate ores and sulfide ores are converted into oxide of metals, and then the reduction process takes place and extraction of metal is done. So hence we require the process of calcination and roasting. Calcination is for the carbonate ores and roasting is for the sulfide ores. Now what happens in calcination is, this is the process that takes place in the absence of air or oxygen. Okay, here the ore is being heated in the absence of air in case of calcination, and the ore is heated in the presence of air or oxygen in case of roasting. Okay, so what is calcination? Calcination is the process in which the metals are heated in the absence of air, and roasting is the process in which the metals are heated in the presence of air or oxygen, and then it is converted into oxide of metal. Then the process of reduction has been applied onto the metal, and then the purification of the metal takes place. Now in case of metals of low reactivity, what happens? We have the sulfide ores Then the roasting of the sulfide ore takes place. We get the metal and then it is refined and we get it in the pure form. So this is what all points involved in the topic extraction of metals. So far we have discussed about the extraction of metals, each and everything about the extraction of metals, right? Now we are going to discuss the next topic, that is the enrichment. Okay, enrichment of the ores. Now what happens in the enrichment of ores? Now as we know, ores mined from the earth are usually contaminated with large amount of impurities such as soil, sand, etc., and these are called gangue. So what has been mentioned here is that the ores which are generally obtained from the earth's crust, they are usually containing various contaminants or impurities like soil, sand, etc., and this impurities has a name mentioned. It is called gangue. Okay, now the impurities needs to be removed from the ore prior to the extraction of the metal. Before we move on to the step wherein we are extracting the metal, we need to remove the impurities which are present, right? We need to remove all the gangue. Now several steps are involved in the extraction of pure metal from the ore. So there are various steps which are involved in the extraction of the pure metals from the ores. The processes used in the removing of the gangue from the ore are based on the differences between the physical or the chemical properties of gangue and the ore. So depending upon the differences in the physical and the chemical properties, the gangue is being separated, or we can say the impurities are being separated from the ore. Okay, now let us have a look on how the extraction of metals happens. Now let us begin with our next topic, that is extracting metals low in the activity series. Now metals low in the activity series are very unreactive. We know they are less reactive in nature. The oxides of these metals can be reduced to metals by heating alone. So the only way by which we can extract the metals from such ores is the process of heating alone. Okay, now here we'll be considering two examples. One will be about the cinnabar, which is the ore of mercury, and second will be copper, which is found as Cu2s in nature, and we'll see how it is obtained from its ore by just heating in the air. Now for example, cinnabar, which is HGS, it is an ore of mercury. Now what happens when it is heated in air? It is first converted into mercuric oxide, that is HgO. So when HGS, which is the ore of mercury, when it is heated in the presence of air, what happens? It first gets converted into HgO. Okay, that is mercuric oxide. Secondly, this mercuric oxide is then reduced to mercury on further heating, and then again when this mercuric oxide is further heated, it gets converted into mercury. Okay, now similarly it happens with copper, which is found as Cu2s in the nature. It can also be obtained from its ore just by heating in air. So now here we have reactions which you need to note down. So let us talk about the first reaction, wherein the cinnabar is being heated, okay, which is the ore of mercury. Now the reaction goes like this: 2HgS plus 3O2 in the presence of heat gives HgO plus 2SO2. So what is happening here is that the cinnabar, that is the ore of mercury, is heated in the presence of air, okay, and it gets converted into mercuric oxide. Now along with mercuric oxide, that is sulfur dioxide that is being released. Now when this mercuric oxide is further heated, we get Hg, 2Hg plus O2. So the second reaction here is 2HgO in the presence of heat, it gives 2Hg plus O2. And in this way we obtain Hg from the ore of mercury, that is from cinnabar. Now similarly we'll look on to the copper, which is found as Cu2s in nature. It can also be obtained from its ore just by heating in air. So the reaction would be 2 Cu2s plus 3O2 in the presence of heat gives 2 Cu2O plus 2SO2. Here also the sulfur dioxide is being released. Okay, Here also the sulfur dioxide is released. Now the second reaction would be 2Cu2O plus Cu2S in the presence of heat gives 6Cu plus SO2. So we have obtained the copper from the copper ore. Now let us move on to our second topic, that is extracting metals in the middle of the activity series. So here there are metals which are less reactive. Okay, we can't say they are highly reactive, we can't say they are not at all reactive. They are the metals which are present in the middle of the activity series, which means they are less reactive. Okay, the metals in the middle of the activity series such as iron, zinc, lead, copper, etc. are moderately reactive. So here are the examples of the metals which are present in the middle of the activity series. They are iron, zinc, lead and copper. Okay. Now these are usually present as sulfides or carbonates in nature. So their ores are present generally in the form of sulfides and carbonates. Now it is easier to obtain a metal from its oxide as compared to its sulfides and carbonates. So it's given here that whenever the extraction process is taking place, it is easy to extract the metals from its oxides as compared to extracting the metals from its sulfides and carbonates, and hence it becomes easier if they are converted if these sulfides and carbonates are first of all converted into oxides and then the metals are extracted from the oxides. So for that process we require, prior to the reduction process, the metal sulfides and carbonates needs to be converted into metal oxides. For that we use the process of roasting and calcination as we discussed before. Okay, the sulfide ores are converted into oxides by strongly heating in the presence of excess air. This process is known as roasting. So what happens in roasting is the sulfide ores are converted into oxides. How? By heating strongly in the presence of excess air, and this is what is known as roasting. Now what happens in calcination? The carbonate ores, here the carbonate ores are there. Okay, the carbonate ores are changed into oxides by heating strongly in limited air. Okay, this process is known as calcination. Now obtaining metals from their compounds is also a reduction process. Okay, so first of all what happens is that roasting or calcination takes place and the next step is the reduction process. Now let us first have a look on the chemical reaction that takes place during roasting and calcination of zinc ores. Okay, so what happens during roasting? The equation is 2ZnS plus 3O2 in the presence of heat gets converted into 2ZnO plus 2SO2. Here the zinc ore is converted into zinc oxide, right? So by the process of roasting, wherein we have air also, oxygen also present. Okay, in the presence of oxygen the ore has been converted into oxide ore. Okay, now what happens in calcination is ZnCO3 in the presence of heat gets converted into ZnO plus CO2. Here as we can see in the reaction, there is no oxygen that is involved, hence we say that calcination is a process which takes place in the limited air or in the absence of air. Okay, now let us move ahead. The metal oxides are then reduced to the corresponding metals by using suitable reducing agents. Okay, now the next process is reduction of these metal oxides, so that we can obtain the metal. So that is done using reducing agents. Now few of the examples of reducing agents are reduced to the corresponding metals. Now further, using reducing agents like carbon. Now we can see this with the help of an example wherein the zinc oxide is heated with carbon and it gets reduced to metallic zinc, that is ZnO plus C giving Zn plus Co. Okay, now besides using carbon to reduce metal oxides to metal, sometimes displacement reactions can also be used. Now the highly reactive metals such as sodium, calcium, aluminum etc. are used as reducing agents because they can displace metals of lower reactivity from their compound. So here when we look at with the perspective of displacement reaction, where a highly reactive metal can displace a less reactive metal, herein the examples of such metals, highly reactive metals like sodium, calcium and aluminium, can also be used as a reducing agent, wherein they being the most reactive metal will have the ability to displace the less reactive metal from the compounds, right? Now for example, we can consider an example when manganese dioxide is heated with aluminium powder. The following reaction takes place: 3MnO2 plus 4Al giving 3Mn plus 2Al2O3 plus heat. Okay, this is the example. Now these displacement reactions are highly exothermic, that is, there's a lot of heat being released during the reaction, and the amount of heat that is released is so large that the metals produced are sometimes found in the molten state because of the high amount of heat that is being released during the reaction. Now in fact, the reaction of iron oxide, that is Fe2O3, with aluminium is also used to join the railway tracks or the cracked machine parts. So this reaction is known as the Thermit reaction. Okay, you have to remember this term, that is Thermit reaction. Now let us have a look on the equation. Fe2O3 plus 2Al giving 2Fe plus Al2O3 plus heat. Now our last topic is extracting metals towards the top of the activity series. Now the metals again which are at the top of the activity series, they are highly reactive, and the point is they cannot be obtained from the compounds by heating with carbon. Okay, for example, why? Carbon cannot reduce the oxides of sodium, magnesium, calcium and aluminium etc. to the respective metals. Now why is this happening? This is because these metals generally have a higher affinity or higher attraction towards oxygen than the carbon, right? Now these metals, so what's the alternative? These metals are obtained by the process of electrolytic reduction. Now what happens is, let us consider an example. Now sodium, magnesium and calcium, they are obtained by the electrolysis of their molten chloride. So here there is the process of electrolysis of the molten chloride that takes place, which helps in the in obtaining sodium, magnesium and calcium. Okay, now the metals are deposited. What happens during electrolysis is that the metals which are there, they are deposited at the cathode, the negatively charged electrode. Now we have the cathode which is a negatively charged electrode, and we have anode which is a positively charged electrode. So what will happen is that the metals will get deposited at the negatively charged electrode, or like when we supply electricity, the process that takes place is the metals get deposited at the cathode, that is the negatively charged electrode, and the chlorine which is there, which is liberated or which is released, it will get attracted towards the positively charged electrode. Okay, so in this way the separation takes place. Now the reaction